Hello, today I'm going to talk about 10 prog rock albums that I personally find underrated. Yesterday I did 10 albums that I find overrated, and now I'm going to do underrated. Just going to get straight into it. Again, like I said yesterday, my definition of underrated is not as good as, better than everybody says it is. So that could mean everybody says this is a band's third best album, but in my personal opinion it could be their second or first best. That's all it means. So I hope nobody gets too annoyed that an album that they think sucks is on this list. First, I'm going to start off with one that I don't actually have on physical copy. An Ozric Tentacles album. Don't know if you can see it. No, you can't really. See if I can. That's better. Ozric Tentacles, Waterfall Cities. I don't have it on physical copy. Like I said, Ozric Tentacles are quite a rare band. I actually only have 4 of their albums on physical copy, and I found one on vinyl. But Ozric Tentacles, they're not a very well known band, so pretty much all of their albums are underrated in my opinion. Though one of their albums did appear on my overrated list, that's how much I was struggling. The reason I don't have it on physical copy is because it cost about 45 quid on Amazon physical copy when I could get it for like 6 quid on iTunes. So, you know, as much as I much prefer having a physical copy as opposed to a digital copy, I'm not going to spend 9 times the price, just for that. Which is a shame because it's my all-time favourite Ozric Tentacles album. It's absolutely fantastic. 7 songs on it, all instrumentals. Again, if you haven't listened to Ozric Tentacles and you like electronic, progressive, psychedelic, instrumental rock, then you'll really, really like them. The reason I've put Waterfall City, though, like I said, pretty much every Ozric Tentacles album is underrated. But the reason I put Waterfall Cities is because it's my personal favourite, and it's usually ranked as their 3rd or 4th. So that's mainly the only reason. There's 7 songs, like I said. They're all absolutely fantastic, all very different as well. It's also one of their most progressive albums, I think. So again, there you go. I could fill this entire list with Ozric Tentacles albums, but one of each band. Next, Islands by King Crimson. You will notice a lot of the bands that I said yesterday on my overrated video are appearing on this same video here. I think most of them are the same bands. Reason King Crimson Islands, everybody seems to think it's one of their weaker ones of their 70s stuff. Most people certainly seem to say it's their weakest out of those first 4. I disagree. I think Lizard is easily the weakest of the first 4. This one's its 2 strengths are it's got 6 songs, and the best 2 are easily the first and the last, Formentera Lady and Islands, which take up about half the album, since Formentera Lady's 10 minutes, Islands is 11 minutes. Sailor's Tales and also a good instrumental. Ladies of the Road's good, and the Song of the Gulls is good. It's an overlooked album. It is sometimes referred to, as I've seen online, as the Underdog's Champion. It's a brilliant, brilliant album. Well, not brilliant. It's got some brilliant songs on it. It's just underrated. It doesn't get enough attention compared to other albums, in my opinion. So that's all underrated means, really. Next, we have a band, like I said yesterday, pretty much all of their albums could be on this list. Graaf Generator, and out of all their underrated albums, the one that I would say is the most underrated is their 2008 album Trisector. Following their David Jackson leaving and them becoming a trio, this is their 2nd album since they reformed in 2005. Their first as a trio, hence the name Trisector. Really overlooked. On best ever albums, this is actually ranked as their lowest studio album, their worst studio album out of all their albums. I think that's ridiculous. I think this album is better than their first one. It's better than The Quiet Zone, The Pleasure Dome, the first one, The Aerosol Grey Machine. It's better than Present. It's better than Alt. So it's better than, and there may be another few if I really, really thought about it. It's better than a good few of their albums. There's some fantastic songs on this, and I'll definitely review this one. Over the Hill is such a callback to their 70s stuff, but sort of updated. it loses the saxophone. It's like Man Erg or After the Flood, Lemmings, one of those ones, one of those crazy 12-minute ones that doesn't have the saxophone on it, which is certainly something new, and it showed that yeah, we can still go nuts. Because the Van Graaf, their newer stuff, they don't go nuts quite as much as they used to with those really early albums. They didn't go as nuts as much in those mid-70s albums either. But anyone who's listened to their second, third and fourth album knows there's crazy stuff going on. This is sort of a callback to that one song. There's other brilliant ones on it. The final reel is brilliant. Only in a Whisper is fantastic. The Hurly Burly is a good instrumental. It's a really good album, and I have no idea why this one is ranked so low. It's certainly a lot better than Present, in my opinion. Fourth album now, Marillion. Sounds That Can't Be Made. I am not a huge fan of Marillion. I actually only own 3 of their albums. I've got Misplaced Childhood, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of Neo-Prog. To me, it just sort of sounded like a knockoff of Genesis. That might annoy some people. So yeah, I'd put that in the overrated list if it was actually a prog rock album. It's a neo-progressive rock album, so it's not actually progressive. This is actually a progressive album, and actually I'd say this is more underrated in comparison to Marbles. Marbles is ranked higher than this, and I much prefer Sounds That Can't Be Made. Every song on it sounds different. Pretty much all of them are brilliant. You've got the 17-minute opener, Gaza, which is fantastic. Way better than, is it Ocean Cloud from Marbles? Way better than Ocean Cloud. You've got the title track, Sounds That Can't Be Made, which is also fantastic. The lyrics are tremendous. You've got Pour My Love, Montreal, Invisible Ink, The Sky Above the Rain. They're the really good ones. It's just a fantastic album from start to finish, so late on in their career. 2012. Really progressive album as well, more progressive than Marbles. Marbles has its moments for me, it's just not quite as good as everyone says it is. I would say Marbles is a bit overrated as well, but this one's totally underrated in my opinion. Fantastic album. Easily my favourite Marillion album that I own. Now these next 6, the last 6, I have all of these on vinyl, so that's good. Next, number 5, we have A Passion Play by Jethro Tull. I think a lot of people will agree. This was their album that came out after Thick as a Brick. They did Aqualung, which was on my overrated list. Thick as a Brick, which is easily their best album in my opinion. And then with the success of Thick as a Brick as a continuous 45-minute song, I'm sure Ian Anderson thought, well, I'll do that again. Well, this one isn't a continuous 45-minute song. It's in 2 parts. Side 1, side 2, though they are actually 2 different songs, unlike Thick as a Brick, which is a continuous 45-minute track. Well, on 2 sides of vinyl. If Thick as a Brick was released now, it would be 1 track. This is actually 2 different songs, but it is very underrated. Easily their second best album in my opinion. At times it can be more complex than Thick as a Brick. It can be very complex at times. It's got some fantastic melodies. Not as good as Thick as a Brick, but a lot of people refer to it as the other Thick as a Brick. I wouldn't quite say that because it does sound very, very different. It has more jazz fusion elements at times than Thick as a Brick. All around, fantastic, totally underrated album that doesn't get anywhere near as enough attention as it deserves in my opinion. Though I have actually seen this on a few, number 1 on a few prog rock albums, like top 10 lists, Jethro Tull albums. So I think the word is spreading, at least, or I'm not alone in the opinion that this is a fantastic album. Next, V or 5, probably call it 5. I call it V. I know V is 5, but by Spock's Beard. This is one that's not. It's a bit unfair to call it underrated because it is actually one of the band's highest rated albums. From what I've seen, it's ranked as their 3rd, behind Delight and Snow. But the only reason that I've put this on the list is because I think it is way better than any of those albums. easily Spock's best album in my opinion, by far. Way better than any of the other albums I've heard. I've heard their first 6. This one annihilates any of those in my opinion. You get a fantastic 16-minute opener at the end of the day. Tremendous feel-good song. Amazing. And then you've got 4 short ones, all of which are brilliant apart from All on a Sunday. All on a Sunday is good. It's a great song. It's just not quite as good as those other 4. And then it ends with the masterpiece, the 27-minute masterpiece, The Great Nothing, which is so good. So good. This and Waterfall Cities by Ozric Tentacles, in my opinion, are just as good as those 70s masterpieces by all the old prog bands. Absolutely fantastic. Seriously, if you haven't listened to V, then you like modern prog. If you've only listened to Snow, or if you don't like V very much, if you're a Spock's Beard fan and you don't like V very much, or 5, and you much prefer the Light and Snow, give V another listen. The absolute raw emotion of The Great Nothing. This was one of Neil Morris's last albums before he went religious, and in my opinion, the music has suffered a lot since he went religious. The Great Nothing is the second in a quadrilogy of amazing, really long songs that Neil Morris and Transatlantic and Spock's Beard did within 2000 and 2001. In 2000 he did All of the Above from Sempte with Transatlantic. The Great Nothing from this, All of the Above, was 31 minutes. And then in 2001 he did Duel with the Devil and Stranger in Your Soul with Transatlantic, which are also fantastic songs from an absolutely fantastic album. Then he went religious and the music suffered since then. But The Great Nothing may be his greatest song ever. I say his, I mean the rest of the band are fantastic as well, but he is sort of like the main member of the band, even though he left after Snow. And I've got it on vinyl. This costs 50 quid. And one thing I like is that side D is, I don't know what it is, etching. That's what it says. I haven't actually listened to that. But what I like is that they haven't thought to themselves, right, we have to spread it out over 4 sides. No, side 1's at the end of the day. Side 2 is the 4 short ones. And then side C is The Great Nothing. You know, instead of splitting, you know, the 4 short ones into 2 sides. You know, I hate it when a lot of modern albums do that. Like The Raven That Refused to Sing. If you've got that on vinyl, you'll notice that music takes up all 4 of the sides. But you've got like The Raven That Refused to Sing, the title track, the 7-minute song on a side on its own. I thought, why not just use 3 sides and just leave the 4th side empty? That seems a little better idea to me. Number 7, I think. Omadon by Mike Oldfield. Fantastic album. Easily his best. Way better than Tubular Bells. Not way better. Tubular Bells is fantastic. It is. And this is ranked as his 2nd best album. So, but the only reason I think this is underrated is because everybody talks about Tubular Bells. You'll get documentaries that talk about that album and none of his other albums. Tubular Bells and Tubular Bells alone. And I think that's totally unfair. I think Omadon is easily his best. The bagpipes, I think it's bagpipes in the 2nd side, especially the 2nd side. The 2nd side is amazing. It's emotional, it's powerful, and then at the end you've got that wee song on horseback. It's just, the music feels so free, and in a way that Tubular Bells just doesn't. It's got this emotion to it that Tubular Bells just doesn't quite have, and that's why I absolutely love it. Absolutely amazing album, one of the greatest prog rock albums ever. And this was the 2nd Mike Oldfield album I ever listened to, and I wasn't a big fan of him after listening to Tubular Bells. I do like Tubular Bells, I love it, but after listening to this I was like, right, I am now a Mike Oldfield fan. I genuinely consider myself a Mike Oldfield fan. Unfortunately, the Return to Omadon album, which only came out this year, 42 years after the original, this came out in 75, isn't very good, unfortunately. I know a lot of people like it. It's just not get that heart, that drive that this one has. There's just something about this album that no other prog rock album has. It's amazing. Number 8, Relayer by Yes. Really, really cool cover. I love this cover. This is another one that's totally underrated. Every Yes fan will tell you, oh yeah, Relayer is quite underrated. I think one of the reasons is because it's the only album that had this lineup. Patrick Moraz, who was Rick Wakeman's replacement. Came out in '74. This was after Tales from Topographic Oceans. This is much better than Tales from Topographic Oceans. Actually, I would say that this is Yes's second best album behind Close to the Edge. I think it's better than Fragile and the Yes album. The Gates of Delirium, which takes up the entire first side, is probably just as good as Close to the Edge, but in other ways. Sound Chaser, the second song, is just 9 minutes of pure experimentation. It sounds like improv, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean it in a good way. It's obviously not improv, but it's so experimental, it sounds like improv. Then To Be Over is probably the weakest song on the album, but it is good. It is sort of like Close to the Edge, that it has three songs on it, long one, 2 10-minute ones. I'd say Close to the Edge and The Gates of Delirium are probably just as good as each other in different ways. Maybe Close to the Edge just edges it. Sound Chaser, you'd compare that to Siberian Catru. Siberian Catru probably is better, and then And You and I probably is better than To Be Over. So it's totally different to Close to the Edge. Not quite as good, but the reason is I think it's better than Fragile and the Yes album. So I would say this is Yes's second best album, after Close to the Edge, as opposed to the 5th or 6th, as a lot of people put it. Number 9, To Our Children's Children by the Moody Blues. This is another one that's really highly ranked. This on best ever albums, this is ranked as their 3rd best album, and the only reason it's on this list is because it's my personal favourite. I think this is easily the best Moody Blues album. On the Threshold of a Dream is my second favourite, and then I'd probably say Days of Future Past, but that's the thing, Days of Future Past, Nights in White Satin especially, just totally overshadows all of the rest of their stuff. This is the 4th album of the Core 7, the 7 albums that they released between 67 and 72. 7 amazing albums. This was the 4th. This one's bang in the middle, and it's an absolute favourite. 13 songs on it. It flows so well. It's just got this feeling off it. I just got this feeling from it, this emotional feeling from it that I didn't quite get with every other Moody Blues albums. On the Threshold of a Dream, I almost got it. I get a very emotional feeling from that, but in a different way. I sort of feel like they're 2 brother albums, like the concepts. On the Threshold of a Dream, the concept of that sort of leads up to this one. But songs like Out and In, Floating, Higher and Higher, The Eyes of a Child, Watching and Waiting, Sun is Still Shining, Gypsy, just so many good ones on it. I never thought I'd live to be 100. Every song on this album is amazing. Every single one, from start to finish, amazing album. Absolutely fantastic. Last album, this one's going to be pretty controversial because a lot of people hate this album. My favourite prog band, we're going to talk about them last. Caress of Steel by Rush. Caress of Steel by Rush. Well, this was one I'd call very underrated because a lot of people hate this album. A lot of people hated it when it came out. Their 3rd album, their 1st album was just called Rush. It had success because of Working Man. Then the original drummer John Wattsy left and Neil joined the band. They did Fly By Night, which again sort of built on it with a more progressive sound. And then this was supposed to be their breakthrough. And the fact that they've packed it with so many long ones sort of stopped it from being their breakthrough. 5 songs, 4 ones on the first side. You get Bastille Day, which is my personal least favourite song on the album. It is really good. In my opinion, the album gets better and better and better as it goes along with every single song. I Think I'm Going Bald, better than Bastille Day, good song. And then Lakeside Park, for me, is when the album really gets going. Lakeside Park is absolutely fantastic, I think. Especially the atmospherics and the sort of towards the end. Really emotional part. And then the rest of the first side is The Necromancer, which, pardon me, is... I actually timed it once. I timed it's a 3-part suite. I timed how much of the song is guitar solo, and genuinely like 6 or 7 minutes of the 12-minute song is guitar solo. There's that much guitar solo in it. Fantastic track, the Necromancer. And then you get the entire second side, which is taken up by the Fountain of Lamneth, which is totally overshadowed by 2112. This was the album that came out before 2112. I think the Fountain of Lamneth is much better than 2112. I think it's more emotional. I think it has a more interesting concept, with each part of the song being a different stage of life, more than a song that sort of criticises a socialist dictatorship where all art has been banned. Not that I have a problem with anti-religious, anti-government songs. I don't. I just think, because I'm an anarchist, but I think the Fountain of Lamneth has a more emotional, more relatable concept. It's a beautiful song, especially every part has totally different emotions. Well, I think some of 2112 parts sound the same. In the Valley and the Fountain, the first and last parts start off sound the same. It sort of ends the way it starts, and I really like that. It's got a great riff to it. It's got a great feel. Didacts and Arpets is good when you know what it's about. That's about the teenage years. Knowing that the Bridge is a dark, broody one, which is about when I'm reviewing the album here. I shouldn't be reviewing it. Panacea is a really beautiful fourth part of the song, which is about finding love, and then Bacchus Plateau is about retirement. And I'll review this. I pretty much just gave it a short review there, but I love this album. I think it's better than 2112. I think it's better than a lot of Rush albums. I think it's probably the most underrated prog album ever, because of how much. I mean, all these other albums, people do like them. Like, yeah, they're not as good as Omadon. Who think, oh, it's not as good as Tubular Bells or To Our Children's Children. People might think, oh, it's not as good as Days of Future Past. But people hate this album. They absolutely hate it. And I absolutely love it. So that is why I would say it's totally underrated. Probably the most underrated prog album ever, in my opinion. Fantastic album, in my opinion. So that's been my 10. No particular order, though I would probably say that last one was the most underrated, in my opinion. 10 underrated prog albums. Again, like in the first video, I hope I didn't piss anybody off too much. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope maybe if you don't like any of these albums too much, maybe give them a listen, and then you might change your mind, hopefully. But I just want to say about the last video, the overrated ones, I wish I could enjoy them as much as most people. I wish I could enjoy Present the way a lot of Anagraph fans do, or I wish I could enjoy Aqualung as much as other Jethro Tull fans. I just can't. But I wish I could. I wish I could love every prog album. But there you go. So I hope you enjoyed. Just quickly letting you know at the end there. I do enjoy those albums, and I obviously love all these. It's just my personal opinion. Everyone has one. Just hope you enjoyed the video anyway, and I hope maybe you get a different perspective on certain albums. Thanks for watching. See you next time.